Alright, in this project we're going to be completing the handle all the way from the end to the head over here. We're going to be completing this sketch geometry has already been put in here for us. So this is a public document. What we want to do first is make a copy so that we can start editing. Just name it whatever you'd like to. Once we're inside, first thing we're going to do is loft these profiles in order so that we can create the general shape of the handle, and then we're going to use the guides. So go ahead and grab the loft tool, and the only thing you need to worry about is doing it in sequential order. So you want to go from front to back or back to front. Just don't skip around. And as you click on one, it'll start bridging the gap. Sorry, I have a 3D print going on in the background, a little bit noisy. Next thing we want to do is select guides and continuity. Enable that. Then we have 4 guides that we're going to be clicking on. I'm calling this the bottom. So the bottom, the wavy one there. And then there's one on the top. And then you have a left and a right guide. So again, this has been created for us beforehand. We're just kind of cheating by doing the easy parts. So we have a handle here. What we want this to be is a solid, and it's going to be a new part. So once you have all the guides in there, click check mark. Now the next part, we're going to be bridging this gap here. So the first thing we want to do is create some sketch geometry that we can attach some splines to. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and hide the pre-existing sketches so they don't get in the way and get confusing here. So just anything that is visible, we're going to go ahead and hide. The only 2 that we'll want to leave visible are sketch 10 and sketch 13. The rest of the sketches you can hide. Alright, so we're going to create a sketch on the top plane first. Grab the sketch tool. Scroll up to the top if you need to. And select the top plane. Now what we're going to do is simply create an outline of our handle on the sketch plane. We're going to use a specific tool for that. It's found where the Use tool is. If you click the arrow next to that, what we're looking for is intersection. Once you have that selected, we're also going to enable construction because we want these to be construction lines, not real defined lines in our drawing. So with that enabled and the intersection tool on, we're going to click on the handle, and there we have a projected construction line that follows the outline of the part on our sketch. So that's where that plane intersects the handle. It's created a construction line there. We're done with the sketch. Click the check mark. We're going to create one more sketch. This one is going to be on the front plane. I'll go ahead and reveal my planes here. Well, that might have just made it more difficult. Here we go. I'm going to select the front plane. Go ahead and hide those planes again. So we're sketching on the front plane, and we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to grab that intersection tool, enable construction. We're going to click on the handle again. That's going to add that top and bottom outline. But we also need this oval shape here. So I'm going to click there. It's going to place a construction line right where that plane intersects. It's going to give us that construction line. We're done with this sketch. Go ahead and click the check mark. So now we're ready to start sketching in 3D space, which is kind of exciting. We're going to be using a specific drawing tool for that. You'll need to find wherever your expandable tools list is. I think mine's right here. So at some point, depending on your resolution, your list of tools is going to end, but there will be an arrow where you can expand and see the rest of your tools. What you're looking for is the 3D fit spline. This allows you to draw in 3D space as long as you have vertices that you can select. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So the first point that I'm looking for, I'm just going to work on this left-hand side of my drawing space. I'm going to grab this point here. It's the end of my construction line on my handle. So click that to start. That's the first point. And then I'm going to simply connect it over here. There's a point right here on the edge of that oval. So there we have it. We've drawn a line in 3D space. Now this is a spline, but it doesn't look like one yet because we only have from point A to point B. We haven't made a turn or anything. What we're going to do is define a start direction, which is going to force the line to be tangent to this line that we selected the end point of. So click on start direction. I'm going to choose that line that I started with, this one here. That's the end point of that line. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to force the line to be tangent. In this instance, it chose the wrong direction. So you may need to help it out and flip that. You can either click on this arrow in the work area or the one over here at the start direction options. So to reverse it, so you want that curving in and then towards the head of the squeegee here. And then the other adjustment that can be made is the start magnitude. So this impact, you can drag it out to increase the value. So instead of having a handle on this spline, we have this start magnitude option. And the default is set to 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it at 1. If you're following along in the instructions and the Onshape, their whatever this thing is course that I'm getting the instructions from, there's specific measurements that they want for the start magnitude. I'm just going to leave it at the default 1 just for time's sake. But if you're doing this for a different class, you'll want to make sure that you follow the instructions. This video is meant to help with kind of the tricky parts that are hard to understand. So the next thing we want to do is choose the end direction option, and we're going to make the end point tangent, or parallel I should say, to this line. So that forces that curve out. So now this looks a little bit more like a spline. There's a nice shape there. Okay, we're done with this 3D fit spline. We're going to go ahead and click the check mark. And now is the point where you could mirror it, but in the instructions we did the top and bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and do that first. We're going to go ahead and find the same tool, the 3D fit spline. And we're going to bridge from the top of the end of the handle to the top of the head here, right at that midpoint. So that's the vertex that was created in our previous sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. That bridges the gap, and then we'll do a very similar process here. Start direction, choose that starting line. And then the end direction, I'm going to choose the same, I believe this is a sketch 10 that has this construction line. Go ahead and click that. And then we need another one. Go ahead and click the check mark. Find the same tool again, 3D fit spline. This time we're going to be on the bottom. So once I used that sketch for my previous spline, it disappeared. So I need to go ahead and find that again in my work. It's sketch 15. Go ahead and click on the eyeball. I'm going to go ahead and reveal sketch 14 because I know I'll need to see it in the future. So now that should be revealed. Again, you could select the end point of that line. And then we're going to make sure that we have the bottom of this oval selected. There's a little snap point right there. Click on that. Then you have a spline that bridges the gap. Choose the start direction. Click on that wavy construction line. And the direction was reversed again, so I'll click on the arrow. And then for the end direction, I'm using that same construction spline. Okay, now we've created 3 of the 4 guides. The last one we need is just a mirror image of this one. So I'm going to go ahead and find the mirror tool. It's right here. First thing I need to choose is the entities to mirror, which would be this spline. Then I need to select the window for the mirror plane to enable that. And the plane I'm looking for is the front plane. So we go ahead and go up here and choose the front plane. So you can see that's the correct plane. It's dividing it in half there. So that has successfully mirrored that spline on the other side. So now I have 4 guides to work with. I'm going to click the check mark. You can see in most of our exercises we've been trying to create at least 4 different guides to kind of enclose what we're trying to create. So now we're going to loft between this profile and that oval shape that's on the head of the squeegee there. So I'm going to click the loft tool, click on the end of the handle there, and then select the other profile, which is the one on the head here. And you can see it's going to work. It's already bridging the gap there. So now we just need to include our guides. So enable that and then start selecting your guides. Don't worry if it disappears. Let's try to do some extreme stuff. Once you have all 4 selected, it should appear and work out like it should. So choose all 4 guides. And there we've just created a nice looking bridge between our handle and the head of the squeegee. Very custom looking. We want this to be a new solid. We're not going to add it to the handle yet. So go ahead and click the check mark. At this point we're done with that. The next thing we're going to do is make this handle hollow inside. So in the exercise it calls this the grip. So we're going to hollow this out using the shell tool. So that's this tool here. In order to shell it, you need to choose which face to remove, which is going to create the opening for the shell. So we want to choose this point on the grip. Once you click on it, it creates a hole, and then the shell thickness is the thickness of the wall of the material that would be there when it, eventually if it was a solid. And then you can reverse the direction if it happens to be going outside. We don't want it to go outside. That would push the boundary out. We want it to be inside the shape there. So once you've chosen that, the 0.1 inch is the default, and that's what we want to keep it as. Click on the check mark. Alright, from this point on we're going to be trying to close this in with a cap. So we're going to be designing something that's going to fit inside this, and I guess the intent was that it would be able to be removed. I'm not sure why, but we're just going to create it. So to do this we're going to be starting a sketch, and the sketch plane is going to be the top. You can see this plane intersects the handle right at the center point there. So what we need to do first is we're going to create a line using the intersect. So I'm going to go choose that. We've used this in the past. I'm going to choose two different things. First one I'm going to actually have a construction line. So what I want to try to do is get the line across here that represents the end of the handle. So I clicked on that. That gives me the edges there. But I want this here, which gives me the line. This line here is what I'm trying to get. So in order to do that, let me go ahead and go back a step because I don't want the handle. I already have that construction line there. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this part here. So I want that segment, and I also want the one that goes all the way through. So I'm going to try to click on this and see what happens. Note that's the inside. Go ahead and do this here. No. We're just going to use this for now. We'll draw the other line that we need. Whoops. Let me get back in the sketch. Alright, now that I have that line, which I needed, I'm going to go ahead and hide my handle so I can make a sketch here. So go ahead and hide the part. Let's see, which one do I need to... I need to hide that one. Alright, to complete this, I need to make a line. So I'm going to create a line that goes across this space here. And then I need a construction line that extends out from the midpoint here, just out in space. And it needs to be aligned horizontally. I'm going to go ahead and right click and view normal to sketch plane so we can see this. So when we're starting out, we want these basic guides for us. We have this construction line from a previous sketch, sketch 14. We have this intersect line that we just grabbed. We just created this line here to bridge and create a midpoint. We attached a construction line there, and the length at this point doesn't really matter. Now we're going to sketch some geometry here, and then we will dimension it later. So go ahead and grab the line tool. I'm going to add to this, go down this way. So that was horizontal, this is vertically aligned. And I'm going past that line up to about here. Those are all the straight lines that I'm going to be creating. And then from here to here, I'm going to use a spline. And connect that from there to there. And escape, because I'm done drawing my spline. Escape out of any tools that you're using. I'm just going to go ahead and force this handle out, because I know this is the general shape I want to have. Alright, now I'm going to do some dimensioning and creating some constraints here. So these handles need to be able to have constraints and dimensions applied to them. So I need to draw a construction line that's attached to it. So I'm going to enable construction and grab the line tool, and then add a construction line to both of my handles. Right now this handle needs to be vertical. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that vertical constraint and then just click on the handle. And then this handle needs to be tangent to this construction line. So I'm going to go ahead and find the tangent constraint and then select those two. And then these two handles are going to be equal in length to each other. So I'm going to choose the equal constraint, click on both handles. And now I need to add some dimensions. So I'm going to go grab the dimension tool. This long line here should be 0.375. Then this line here is supposed to be 0.125. The length of this handle is also 0.125. And then the distance between that line that we created here, the construction line, and this line, so I'm going to go ahead and click on both of those. This distance is 0.25. Alright, so you should be fully defined now. All of the lines should be black. We're going to go ahead and click on the check mark. Now I'm going to reveal the handle parts. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and combine these two. That was one of the steps that I just skipped by accident. So the two parts of the handle that we created are going to be unioned together. So we're going to use this tool, the Boolean tool. And we want to union both parts here. Click the check mark. Should all be one part now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sweep the path. So we're going to choose the sweep tool, and then the faces and regions we're going to choose are these two regions here. I believe you could just click on the sketch. Let's see what happens if I do that. And then choose a sweep path. Oops, sorry. There are actually 4 different edge segments here. We want this to be new instead of add. Got one more edge to select. Alright. We're done creating this part, so go ahead and click the check mark. We're going to create one more sketch. This time it's going to be on the right plane. Alright, so you can see the right plane intersects right there where these two parts intersect there. For a moment I'm going to go ahead and hide my squeegee. What I need to do is fill in this gap. So I'm going to use the use tool. I want to use the edge here to create a shape on my sketch. It'll be this oval shape. There should be 4 line segments. I accidentally just clicked on a point there. Click the check mark, and I'm going to extrude that shape. I want the direction to be going towards the end. So I'm going to reverse the direction. And then I'm going to, instead of just doing a blind extrude, I'm going to choose up to vertex. And then choose one of the vertices on the edge of the part. So it should extrude all the way to that point. Then click the check mark. We're merging it with the existing part, so it should be adding solid to an already existing part. Click the check mark. And then you can reveal the squeegee. To see the finished results. That's it for this project.